The movie begins with Jackson Briggs, an Navy Ranger, waking up at the floor of his bedroom, troubled via a loud ringing. In his ears he struggles to his table and takes a few drugs to alleviate his circumstance. Within the next scene we see Jackson running at a fast meals eating place, efficiently serving a customer later while doing away with trash. He is at the cell phone with Dorothy, a receptionist at Black Canopy Global Security. He's calling to test his status for an project in Pakistan, but Dorothy reminds him that records of brain accidents makes him undeserving for a warfare region. Notwithstanding this, Jackson insists that he submitted a smooth medical record and that Dorothy explains that his commanding officer wishes to verify it, and he or she mentions the approaching closing date for the rotation. Later, Jackson is at a cabin reducing timber whilst he receives a name from Captain Jones. Jones informs him about the latest passing of a fellow soldier, Riley Rodriguez, and invites him to pay his respects on the barracks. Jackson is deeply saddened as Rodriguez turned into a near friend and has the same opinion to be there to pay his tribute to him. The next day Jackson drives to Peyton Barracks and joins other squad guys for a meeting too. Don't forget Rodriguez. They boost a toast to his reminiscence, chat, and percentage drinks outside. He allows Captain Jones with a drunk soldier, taking the opportunity to discuss the Pakistan rotation and filing a clean scientific document. However, Jones dismisses his concerns and departs. The subsequent morning, Jackson is napping in his vehicle when Captain Jones notices him. Jones wakes him up and instructs Jackson to meet at the battalion an half-hour later, thinking that Jones might sooner or later certify his medical file and propose him for the rotation. Jackson arrives at the department. However, he faces a hiccup on the entrance gate. The soldier on duty factors out that Jackson's identification has expired. Main to a dispute. Thankfully, Captain Jones arrives and vouches for Jackson, permitting him entry in the battalion. Jackson meets Captain Jones and they head interior army room. Jackson expresses his gratitude for Jones reconsidering his state of affairs and inquires about the possibility of an interview. But Jones is on the whole focused on their upcoming task and guides Jackson down a hallway. Inside the subsequent scene, the two of them pass right into a room stuffed with lockers, and Jones collects Riley's matters from any other soldier while there. Jackson notices an album with the image of Riley's dog and asks what will manifest to the dog. Jones explains that the canine is the special guest on the circle of relatives' funeral in Nogales on Sunday. Jackson satirically feedback approximately the canine now not inflicting problem on the funeral, and Jones tells him that it is now his duty. Jackson is pressured by this and discovers that Riley's mother wants the heroic canine at the funeral, even though the canine may be unpredictable and doubtlessly risky. After some discussion, they agree that if Jackson can effectively take the dog to Arizona, Jones will assist him get into the rotation. Having no different options left, Jackson concurs to the situation. Inside the subsequent scene, Jones and Jackson head to where the dog Lulu is kept. Jones reminds Jackson that this is not the same pleasant canine he is used to and advises warning. Jackson agrees and is going to leash Lulu, but things take a flip when he touches her ears. Lulu suddenly turns into competitive and attacks Jackson by some means. He manages to secure Lulu in a cage and then places her inside the trunk of his car. Earlier than he leaves with the dog, Jones offers him with instructions for looking after Lulu and indicates consulting the ebook he furnished approximately dealing with the canine whilst writing. Jackson calls Dorothy once more to remind her about the rotation, but she says they nevertheless need suggestions from higher rating officials. He then informs her to assume a name from his captain on Monday. Listening to this, Dorothy is of the same opinion to expedite things. If she gets a call from Jones earlier than Wednesday, unluckily Lulu's barking turns into a problem in the course of the drive. Jackson stops to get rid of her muzzle, thinking it might be inflicting her soreness, but as soon as he eliminates it, Lulu jumps at him aggressively, forcing him to position it back on later. Jackson stops at a gun membership to practice capturing, but the loud noises exacerbate the high-pitched ringing in his ears. For the duration of this time, Lulu manages to break out of her cage and damages the auto seat. Jackson returns frustrated by the mess and throws the drugged meals to Lulu. The medication makes her tired, resulting in a non-violent adventure for the relaxation of the manor. At night, Jackson stops on the Portlandia Club but does not have a lot success connecting with the ladies there. Disheartened, he returns to his vehicle and laments that Lulu is his most effective lady organization. He attempts to feed her by using hand. However, she only eats whilst he tosses the meals to her as they're about to go away. Two women with their dog's technique and specific their interest in assembly Lulu. But Jackson is cautious and doesn't let them get too close because he's involved. Approximately Lulu's unpredictable behavior. In spite of his initial reservations, Jackson moves up a conversation with the ladies and learns that they practice tantric yoga inside the subsequent scene. Jackson enjoys a drink with the ladies as they speak their paintings. He senses a romantic possibility and tries to make the maximum of the instant. Meanwhile, Lulu maintains barking, catching the interest of a passer by using this individual. Walks as much as the car and expresses subject for Lulu's properly being Jack. Additionally, hears the barking and steps out of doors to test on Lulu. In spite of Jackson's efforts to defuse the state of affairs, the person throws a stone and shatters a window. As this occurs, Lulu leaps out of the automobile and attacks the person. Jackson attempts to restrain her, however, Lulu's aggression frightens the women and they hastily close their automobile door on him, leaving Jackson and Lulu to spend the night in the car. The next day they resume their adventure with Jackson recalling Lulu's previous behavior. However, halfway through, Lulu breaks loose from her leash and jumps out of the automobile. Jackson quick stops and offers chase, following blood trails at the floor. After some time, he arrives at a greenhouse, calling for Lulu. Suddenly, whilst Jackson is attempting to find Lulu, he is shot with a tranquilizer, which knocks him out. While he regains consciousness, he finds himself tied to a chair in an unexpected vicinity and meets a person named Gus, who accuses him of being a spy. Jackson tries to explain that he most effective desires to depart with Lulu. However, Gus topples the chair and departs, urging Jackson to free himself. Remarkably, Jackson manages to interrupt the ties and frees himself, then picks up an awl and heads in the direction of Gus's house. Inside the house, Jackson finds Lulu, but she seems remote, making it tough to get her attention. As he is about to surrender, he overhears a couple arguing. To his wonder, he sees Lulu eating from Gus's spouse's hand. This changes his cognizance, and he enters the room, nonetheless conserving the all. Gus's wife tells him that she communicated with the dog and makes her husband apologize to Jackson. She then asks for some area to generally tend to Lulu's accidents and gives a few food to both Gus and Jackson, advising them to make amends outside. They enjoy their meals. Jackson teaches Gus a way to break out from a zip tie and that they bond over a communique about Lulu. At the same time as they're chatting, Lulu suddenly dashes between The two men, Gus's wife methods them and explains that there has been a small piece of barbed twine caught in Lulu's paws. However, she's pleasant now. She additionally mentions that she considers herself psychic and might pay attention Lulu's thoughts. After this, they all head again inner and Gus's spouse attempts to read Lulu's thoughts. She tells Jackson that she senses something associated with his daughter, but he would not pay lots interest to it. He then expresses his gratitude to the couple for his or her assist and bids them farewell, persevering with on their journey with 3 days. Final, Jackson purchases a toy unicorn and thinks about taking Lulu to a high-priced hotel. They forestall at a hotel, wherein Jackson pretends to be a blind guy. The use of Lulu as his guide animal and that they efficiently comfy a loose room that nighttime. Jackson and Lulu revel in the comforts of the resort. First of all, declining a stroll with Lulu, Jackson modifications his mind later whilst Jackson pretends to by accident come across the hotel receptionist and probable installation a date. Lulu notices a Muslim man and starts chasing him, inflicting Jackson to run after her. This unintended commotion exposes Jackson's ruse of being a blind man or woman main to his brief detention in prison, which nearly jeopardizes their challenge inside the prison lineup. Jackson explains his scenario to the Muslim guy, who is aware the situation and chooses no longer to press fees on our hero. Once released, Jackson and Lulu hit the road once more, spending greater time bonding inside the following scene. Jackson will pay a go-to to his spouse's residence carrying the toy unicorn he offered for his daughter. Unfortunately, the go-to doesn't pass as planned and he leaves with the unicorn still in hand. After that, he is going to peer Lulu's brother Noah. To his wonder, Lulu, who usually would not consume from his hand, warmly embraces Noah's master Lewis and snuggles up with him. They have a first-rate time and Jackson receives to realize extra approximately Lewis and his lifestyles later as they are about to say their goodbyes and